Even so, during hospital, my boss messaged me about the two things he want to talk about.
Knowing that you are in the hospital, he still wants to talk about work?
Yes.
That is like beep, red flag. Hello, everybody. Today is another chit chat session with me, Auntie HR. So today I have a special guest. Special because I don't really know him, but he knows me. A few weeks ago, I put up a post in my Auntie HR focus group in Instagram to ask for any of you would like to come and share about your dugaan in your life. And then Edmund approached me and then we went on a call and he has this very common dugaan I feel that all of us can relate. Quitting a job when you do not have a job. So today we have Edmund here and we are going to talk a subject that a lot of us would probably feel. It's about quitting a job when you do not have a job. Welcome, Edmund, to the Chit Chat session.
Wow. Thank you for having me, Auntie.
Thank you for coming. So
it's my
before
pleasure.
that, we want to know a little bit more about your background. Okay, so maybe you want to just introduce to the audience, like what have you been doing in the past? How long have you been here? Or because you just came back from New Zealand. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Hi. My name is Edmund and I'm 25 years old and I'm a local Malaysian. I was born in Kedah, but I came to PJ when I was...
You were born in Kedah?
Yeah, I was, but I came to PJ when I was 6.
You were 6, okay.
So I lived all over PJ lah.
You live all over PJ.
Like move here, move there. Last time when I was young, my mom loved to move house. But anyway, I went to New Zealand with my mom. Actually, we migrated when we were 13.
When you were 13, yes.
And I decided to make a really big decision to come back to Malaysia.
And that was when?
2 years ago. 2023.
2023, post-pandemic.
Yeah. Actually, I came back in 2022 for a holiday after 9 years stuck there.
Okay. Stuck there?
Yes.
Interesting word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, sometimes, when your parents make a decision, right?
Yes.
You have to follow lah.
Yes.
Until I was financially independent when I was 18 or 19, I had to build my own career. I had to went to uni to get my education, get my degree, and get my job so I can build my own financial stability or build my financial status lah. So so I can earn my own money and.
So what did you study in university?
Bachelor of Commerce, double major in Business Analytics and Operation Supply Chain Management.
Sounds so fancy.
Oh my gosh, do not judge the name by its fanciness. Imagine someone study accounting and finance. Take for example, right? They might think, oh, that's simple, but actually it's even tougher than supply chain or business analyst. Don't judge by the name.
So anyway, after you graduated, you worked in New Zealand?
Yes, I did.
Yes?
Actually, while I was studying and before I studied university, I already had my first job there. My first job was sales and marketing. Basically, it's door-to-door sales. In other words, you have to ketuk pintu on people's houses and get them to sign up for like a charity. And it's not one-off. Sign up on a monthly basis, get them to stick for at least 2 years if possible. But that one we cannot control. All we had to do was get the sales. Very tough, especially you have to knock from 2 p.m. until 7:30 in the evening. That time I start my job, it was in May. May was autumn. It was coming to winter because June is already winter in New Zealand ma.
Okay.
So I had to do it in late autumn. It was starting to get cold because by May, after 5 or 5:30, gelap ready. And you have to be a bit in the cold for until 7:30. Knock the door and pitch and everything. And you have to handle a lot of objections. Oh, not interested. Sometimes it's just very easy to give up, but you need to make the sales because if you don't, then
so
it's
how
no
long
good
were
lah.
you doing that job? That door-to-door sales? 3 weeks?
3 weeks and I got fired but for good reason lah.
Okay.
But in good terms, not like not getting fired like get out of here. I don't want to see your face ever again. But it was like we decided this is not for you. You should find something that you're more into, and sales is not for you. But it's not like fired, get out. But we still maintain good contact, no burning bridges, nothing. Sometimes the most peaceful way to leave a job.
You decided to come back to Malaysia. Why is that?
I feel Malaysia is always home in my heart. Yeah. You're born here. You cannot forget where you come from. No matter how hard you try to get rid of it, or no matter how much someone tries to take it away from you, your Malaysian identity, but in the end, you'll always be connected to the roots.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, so when you came back to Malaysia, you found a job here?
Yes, I did. Well, I didn't found before I came back. I only found after I came back.
And that was a job that you quit before you were able to find another job.
That was my
that the
first
job?
That was my first job in Malaysia.
Okay.
That's my first time working in Malaysia. Before this, I was working in New Zealand. I've only
Okay.
worked once in Malaysia only because, like I said, I migrated to New Zealand when I was 13. So of course, back then 13, siapa kerja at 13? That's considered child labor already.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that job in Malaysia. What were you doing?
I was working as a supply chain in on the retail line.
In the retail line, you're working as a supply chain. That is a...
It's a head office. It's a HQ for
Okay.
one of the retail chains.
Okay, and then was that a tough job for you until you quit your job?
Quite challenging at times.
Quite challenging. Tell us about that. So what happened? What happened that drove you to make the decision that you quit your job even when you don't have a job?
Okay, let me give a bit of background first
Okay,
from the
cool.
beginning of the job, the timeline. Well, I won't mention much about the timeline, but in the beginning, I ended up in this job because I applied for so many jobs, right? But either I only got interviewed and didn't pass or didn't get callbacks at all. But this was the only company that was hiring. They were only hiring. So the interviewer, which was my superior also, during the interview also, he never asked me much about my background. He did sikit-sikit, but after that, he really started discussing about salary package and everything already during the interview itself.
Yeah, some hiring managers works fast like that. Not necessarily they are desperate.
He could be desperate. We don't know, right?
Yeah, we don't know. But I am also one of those hiring manager who move very fast.
True also, actually. But
Then what happened after that?
so I went to the job. I was working and everything. I was doing very well in the beginning because, normally probation is 3 months only, right?
Yes.
I got confirmed within 2 months.
Oh, wow.
Because I was doing very well. I was doing very well, very good in the beginning. My boss, my superior always applauded me and for all the good things I've done. And because back then, right, I'm not sure if it's appropriate to say this, but there was one colleague who was not performing at that time. So my boss was more focused on her than focused on me. So I could just focus on my work more. But after she left and in the office, it was just me and my boss. For 2 months, there was 2 months in our department. It's only me and my boss because the previous colleague already tell because let's just say she finds this company a bit toxic lah. And there were people convincing me that to be careful this company because they were toxic, blah, blah, blah. But at first I thought, they're just discouraging me. They were just demotivating because they are the one that toxic lah. That's what I thought. That's what I thought at first. After they left, actually the office was quite peaceful. I could work quite peaceful alone for 2 months. Like it was just me and my boss in the office, in our department only.
So I have a question. Did people talk about favoritism since you are so close to your boss and you're together all the time?
I don't think it's about favoritism.
It's not about favoritism.
Because
okay.
I was in office, right, for 2 months. But actually, it turns out my boss, there was 1 week, my boss, he went to Taiwan for a holiday. So in the office, I saw Rang je. I saw Rang je dalam office. And then, but of course, another department, of course, got come and see me and invite me for lunch. It was very kind of him. I remember him.
But you're also a very hard worker.
I take my job very seriously because I want to build my career. I'm very determined to build my career because that's why I came back here to Malaysia for job opportunities. Even though some people might say, the salary, no good. But I feel Malaysia, if you compare to New Zealand, right? Malaysia has more job opportunities. And plus, it's a bigger population here. Malaysia has bigger population. So probably there's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of companies, a lot of sole traders. Yeah.
Nice to know.
And plus Malaysia, right, there's a lot of fun things to do. And plus, if you work here, when you're off, you can go do the nice things because New Zealand, not much to do, not much to see, I tell you.
So moral of the story is stay in Malaysia.
Well, depends. I would say it depends on individuals lah. Because some people go overseas and they find their life better. But for some people like me, they feel they are connected to their home because they want to be close to their family or close to their friends, or you want to be home to your motherland, then stay. But of course, I cannot speak for the whole population.
So you were doing so well in the company. What happened?
Okay,
How
so
long were you in the company anyway?
a year.
1 year. That's not very long.
Yeah, true. The other day, the Grab driver say, wah, 1 year. Wah, you tahan lama juga ya. Because normally people say, dia tahan 3 bulan je, lepas tu cabut.
I think different generations. I mean, from the older generation. So for me, like 1 year is a little bit too short.
Yeah.
But you were saying that even staying 1 year is like a miracle.
Yes, because I didn't think I was going to survive 1 or 2 months because everything looked so hard and looked so overwhelming in the beginning. But of course, in the later stage, you'll realize that you actually can do more than you think. Yeah.
So I just want to just go into somebody's mind toward the last few months.
Yes.
What was in your head during that few months that drove you to quit your job?
Well, for starters, my performance dropped. And of course, sometimes after your performance drop, you want to, for me, like I said in the beginning, I take my job and my performance very seriously. I would do whatever it takes. I would listen to my boss feedback during appraisal meetings and even during the weekly meetings as well with our boss and my department. We always have weekly meetings. I always take my job seriously, but I seriously don't know what went wrong there.
So was there a fear? The fear that you will be terminated. So before they terminate you, you decide to terminate the company first.
Actually, in the beginning, there was no fear that I would be terminated. But of course, when my job performance dropped, of course, I will try to work even harder. I will try to work even harder to achieve the result that I want and my boss wants also. I will, of course, like I say, I'm willing to work hard, whatever it takes, but I have a medical condition called ADHD.
Oh.
And it's actually really hard. I only found out after my performance dropped. I tried to investigate why is my performance dropping? Why am I not doing so well? And, and then I thought of different things. Maybe is it because of personal issues with family / friends?
Were you diagnosed officially by a medical practitioner?
Yes, but only in the later stage.
In the later stage.
Only when I was about to quit my job, they only want to give me the ADHD medicine. So,
but you volunteered to seek for help, right?
Yes, correct.
At HKL, you mentioned earlier.
Yes, government hospital cause I'm broke. I'll admit I'm broke. I'm not rich.
But I think it's okay. Government also provide very good support.
Yeah, and I heard good stuff about HKL from a private psychologist. They say HKL has you're in good hands with HKL.
And I want to commend you that you went to seek for help. Actually, a lot of people don't have that courage to
because
go
I
look
want to
for
know
help.
what's wrong with me so I can know how to mitigate these symptoms of ADHD and move forward. Because actually, right, I have a lot of friends with ADHD, but they still keep going in life. Take my neighbor, for example. He's a lawyer and has a more severe ADHD and spends $650 a month on his medications. And he still keeps going. And that's someone, you can learn from also. And I have to keep going in life because no matter how hard it is, but with the medication, I believe it can help me focus on my job better and perform better. But this HKL only provided the medication just less than a month before I was about to leave only. So at that time, my performance was very, very at the worst already. There was no point improving anymore. And my boss was nearly about to terminate me.
What was the last straw that made you, okay, today is the day I'm going to resign?
I think I dragged it for a few months because I want to give it some more time. And who knows, sometimes when you face something bad or not so good days at job, right? It's easy to think, I want to quit. But you have to give it time to improve, right? That's what I did for myself. I gave myself time to improve. Who knows, I can improve and get back up on track again. But instead of better, it got worse. I was talking to a friend the other day. We came to makan just around here nearby only. He also has ADHD. He told me that sometimes when you try harder, the results are worse. And I feel that's true for me. Reality of living with ADHD.
But eventually, the desire to get better is always there.
Yes.
Right?
It has always been in my heart, but my boss did not see it.
Your boss did not see it. Oh my God, so kasihan.
Because he didn't even give me a chance to speak. Well, he did, but his reaction time, let's just say, is very fast. Compared to you, auntie, his reaction time very, very fast. Before I can habis cakap, he always cut me. Then for what? If you want me to speak, give me a chance to speak. Why so fast cut me off? Oh my God.
Is that part of the reason you feel like I don't want to be with this boss anymore?
I don't dislike him or hate him in any way, but I feel like, of course, well, work is work at the end of the day, but I've always wanted to bring it up because if you compare him with other bosses, right, he still gives you a chance to speak, but other bosses will don't even bother to listen to you.
Okay.
But he'd be like, but I feel like sometimes I still cannot approach him because they'll give you a chance to speak, but sometimes you feel again, at the end of the day, you might be invalidated. So a bit two-faced line, in my opinion.
And it's making your ADHD worse, right? Causing more mental illness to the illness.
Actually,
more mental.
Yeah, it triggers it even more. Yeah. But actually, you're right in a sense, Auntie.
Okay. So a few days ago, I actually put up a survey in my Instagram story to ask people to share whether they have similar experience as you. And then we have very good incoming response. So there were a total of 274 people who responded to the survey.
Wow. Okay.
And out of that, a good 55.1% of the viewers said that, yes, I definitely will quit my job. So you see, you are not alone. So out of these,
that makes me feel better.
151 people who said they would definitely quit, a lot of them cited because they do not want to risk their sanity.
Yes, that was me.
They said they don't want to, they are already going crazy at work. They don't want to be worse. It's not worth their mental health.
Exactly. Actually, right, like I'd like to reinforce what I just said earlier. I am willing to work hard and commitment. Actually, my ex-boss used to applaud me for my commitment, even though my performance was not up to par, but my commitment kind of like ganti everything. So that's why he chose to keep me in the beginning, because he was so focused.
What does it mean your commitment get to ganti everything?
For my ex-boss, right, there are three things that he wants, performance, commitment, and honesty. Honesty, paling penting.
Yes,
commitment.
I agree.
I'm not saying commitment not important, but I say if you cannot perform as well, you need to put in more commitment. And that's exactly what I did. I am willing to put the commitment in because I want to focus on my career. I want to improve and all. But think about it. I am willing to work hard as long as it does not cost me my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Yeah, spiritual. By the way, I'm a Christian for those of you viewing, just for context.
I'm a Christian too.
But anyway, as long as it does not cost me my health in any way, I'm willing to work hard. But at the time, I was often sick and I always get stomach nauseous and anxiety, especially in the morning. Morning time is always the worst.
It's so hard to go to work. Like you feel like dying if you want to go to work.
A little bit though, if I admit. I always wake up feeling anxious, and I always wake up in the morning, my stomach always feel like macam hati tak sedap, like there's something wrong.
Just lah. Yeah. I can imagine.
Actually, right, if you think about it, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, right, if there's something in my gut feeling telling me that something is wrong, 80% of the time it's correct.
And it's literally the gut is telling you, churning there.
You feel your stomach or your hati, something is not right on the inside.
Yeah.
There's something wrong. That's what I felt always living in New Zealand. I don't feel peaceful and comfortable living there. And it turns out
your guts were right.
Yes.
So now I'm just going to share with you what the viewers have shared.
Yeah.
So there's a comment from Dean here who said, "Yup, currently me now. I follow my parents to work on their palm oil farms until I get formally employed."
What?
Yeah, because what you said, in the interim, you got nothing to do, so he just decided to quit while he has nothing to do. I find this comment so heartwarming because working in a palm oil farm is so hard.
Yeah.
But while he
Doesn't
is
sound
not
easy.
doing anything, he will just do. And a lot of people that I know, they quit their job without getting a job, but they still need income. They grab.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do.
That's what you're planning to do?
But I only can do it in 3 years because to be a Grab driver, you need a PSV vocational license and you have to be on your competent full license for 1 year. So I just got my P license only. So you have to be on P for 2 years before you move to competent, right?
I didn't know that.
And you have to be on competent for 1 year. So I only can be Grab driver in 3 years. So for those of you out there, catch me in 3 years.
Okay, and this is another comment from Chloe. She said, yes, I will definitely quit and always be confident about your profession. What I really like about this comment is that you don't have to fear that you will not be unemployed. You have to be very confident about your profession that you were able to find employment. Did you felt the same way?
For me, at first I was scared. Of course, like anyone, they would scared like, how am I going to get money if I quit without a job? You know, I guess it's not only for those who are married with children or with older parents to support, but
yes.
even single like me also, like you might also have to think and consider, because you have other commitments, right?
Yes.
Probably, you know, in Malaysia, right, there are only 2 or 3 marital status, single or married. But if you know, in the Angmo countries, you got single, in a de facto relationship, engaged, married, widowed, divorced, neglected. Okay, that's...
So may I ask, how long have you been unemployed for now? How long ago did you quit your job?
It's been 5 months now, but I do not regret the decision I made.
So what do you do for money in the interim? Did you have to prepare yourself to be where you are right now without an income?
I did not do any preparation at all because I was too focused on my job, because my performance has been dropping day by day, week by week. And I tried very hard to improve, but there was no result. It's because I was so focused that I need the money, I need the income. Not only the income, but I need to perform. So I didn't have time to...
So you just quit without preparing?
I had no choice but at the time I had one housemate only, but she moved out in the middle of June. So I was without housemates for a month. So that's why I was afraid, how was I going to get income? Because that my previous friend... Because
you were collecting rent.
Yes, I only had one housemate at the time, and she left already because she got a new job.
But so relevantly speaking, your expenses is not that much. And you actually have a plan of a side income collecting rent. That's correct?
That's what I wanted to do, because after I decided to rent to my friend that I said I moved to Klang or Banting, I thought maybe I could rent out those 2 empty rooms. So instead of one housemate, I can have 2. So now...
So you did have a plan for money?
Well, not concrete and not solid. It's like, some people plan, right? You have to write down and list down bullet point, everything. But I don't have much. I just roughly just tinchai only, just in my head only. But it did came into action. But I guess a plan is better than no plan.
And this is also led to another comment here by May Ann. Yes, I did before. I quit my job without looking for a job. And actually right now, not really active in finding a job. I'm just enjoying myself doing e-hailing for 5 months.
Oh my gosh. That's just me, but except I cannot do e-hailing yet.
But it's just like you lah. Just go as life goes, right? But however, in the survey, there was a good 38.3% of the people who said that, no, I won't quit my job. And majority of them are saying because of financial issues. Not everybody is as lucky as you, right? You have a house to collect rent already. Then you don't have very high commitments. So there's this viewer called Wei Yan who said that, I need the money to raise my kids.
Yes.
Swallow the stress and misery first. The kids are more important. So no, I will not quit my job.
Understandable. I can understand that. I have a family friend like that as well.
You have a family friend like that? Tell us about that.
Let's just say she's like an auntie to me. Not my biological auntie.
Okay.
But she's been my mom's close friend since I was 4. So she knew me since I was 4 years old until this day. Well, she lives in Cheras, works in Shah Alam, has 2 children and unemployed husband. Husband lost his job during the pandemic. So until this day, he's on 0 income, and if he's lucky, he get commission and sick only. So she's the only income. Imagine
stable
3K
income.
3K income. 3K income with 2 kids and an unemployed husband to support. Confirm not enough lah.
Yes.
Especially living in KL. So I can understand not everyone can just do something like that, which I completely understand. They have children, they have elderly support, maybe OKU family or friends to support. Yeah.
And this is also another interesting comment from Susie. Susie said it's like saving up water for drought season.
Yes. Actually, that's wise.
Yeah. Unhappiness at work is not an overnight thing. Save up 6 months' salary. So a lot of people, I think, those who said that I quit my job, yes, I will quit. I think a lot of them also has planned it.
Yeah.
Although I would personally think 6 months salary is not enough nowadays.
Yeah, have to actually come to think of it.
It's actually not
won't
enough.
last long
It's actually
also.
not enough. It's not enough. And then another commenter named Steph said that unless you are being tortured physically or you are cash rich, I will say no. Desperation is a disadvantage. I thought that phrase is so powerful.
Desperation is a disadvantage.
Yes, I also believe that. When you are desperate, it will bring you more disadvantage because people will take advantage of you. No? You don't think so?
Actually, oh yes, they will. They will.
No, they will,
So I was just
right?
trying to process that saying because I've never heard of that
I
proverb
know,
before.
I thought that is so wise. And then this one is another one. A person called Tina who shared her bitter experience. She said no because she said I was in this situation in 2023. I hunted a new job like crazy. It took me 1 year to get a new offer and I suffered like hell. So a lot of them who are saying no also had a very bad experience in their past.
Yes.
They did it before and they suffered for a very long time for not having income.
Yeah, actually,
So they will not do it again.
not having income can be stressful just as if you have a job as well.
Yes, especially when you have young kids like what we Anne had.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, this is something very interesting. There were a small community that commented. They actually quitted their job because they need to tender 3 months notice.
Yes, my last job also 3 months.
So they were saying that for a lot of employers today cannot wait 3 months. So for them, they have to quit first while they are serving notice. Then they buy themselves 3 months. And then when the employer ask them when can they start work, probably that 3 months have lapsed to be a shorter period.
Yeah, mine was 3 months, but to be honest with you, I only stayed for a month because my boss, at that time, it was my worst time at work already, and he also
Agreed to let you go earlier, but not many people are as lucky as you.
yes, but he was also, if you were in my position, if you were in my office, you would have seen that my boss, he also seemed very desperate and very want to fast let me go also.
Oh no!
Because my performance and everything was at its worst already. But
I can imagine
even though
that.
even though I tendered and let him know in a proper way, but in the end, we tried to keep things civil also. Like he agreed to release me early, so I don't have to pay any penalty. So because
so it was a mutual decision now, which is
we
nice.
had to come to it because we don't want to escalate anything. Because some of the ex-colleagues they just jabut like a storm, and of course we don't want that. He also don't want that anymore. So both sides also, we just try to keep things as peaceful as possible.
I have to say, even at 25, that is very mature thinking. Come nicely, leave nicely.
I mean, like he said, my ex-boss, he's not a bad person at all. He's not, but like I remember what he always say, like, how you see or do things, right? You can go a long way one. Yeah.
Okay, coming back here, we also have another viewer called Tomato who said that
Tomato.
I wish I can, but I can't. I have bills to pay, a son to feed.
Yeah.
Way too responsible for my own good.
Of course, parent sacrifice. There's nothing more than a parent sacrifice.
Yeah, I can also imagine.
I have to respect them for sacrificing for their own children's future and needs.
But a lot of them has mentioned if I have a very good substantial amount saved up in my bank, I would. If you really combine it all, I think if people have money, a good 80% people will say I will quit.
Actually, that's actually quite logical and sensible as well, to save up like 6 months of your salary. But for me, I was hoping I could do maybe at least 3 to 6 months too. My friend even suggested me to do that. But my mental health was also at its worst. But aside my performance, my mental health was also at its worst. And physically as well, because I've been getting sick a lot from time to time.
Oh, that is the worst.
And especially taking MC, sometimes your boss can, especially when they will kacau you. Oh my gosh, let me tell you this one time. I got into an accident, not last December, but the December before that. I got into an accident and admitted to hospital. But even so, during hospital, my boss messaged me about the 2 things he want to talk about.
Knowing that you were in the hospital, he still wants to talk about work?
Yes. On a WhatsApp message, like, talking about, like, he said like a
That is
verbal...
like people, red flag.
Yeah, verbal warning some more for something I did.
Oh no.
When I was in
glad
hospital.
You left the job.
Hey, so basically you're saying, so even if I didn't survive the accident, so it means nothing anyway. As if like, so is the verbal warning just going to stick on my name,
So
even
terrible.
even if I go to be with the Lord.
Oh no. Anyway, you're talking about that. Advice from Ira. Yes, you can quit your job. Right? I did it because my company do not want to wait for my 3 months notice. That's what we were talking about. And she also mentioned that you have to be aware about your savings and also your debts around you.
Yes.
He said, like for me, I have very low debts, so I was brave enough to do it.
Yeah, in life you have to make so many brave decisions, and you cannot be timid. And I mean, sometimes you can feel timid from time to time, and you can be a bit worried, and you can. I mean, of course, you have to think about saving up money and debts. Although, of course, that era isn't wrong.
Yes.
But I would say also, if the job is costing you mental health and torture and everything. Don't force yourself to stay any longer, because eventually if your mental health and your physical health also drain, then how you can keep going to look after your children?
That's right.
But of course, I'm not saying you have to quit if the job is toxic or anything, but do consider very well, because your children also look up to you. If they see you, if your children see you like, ayo, mommy looks so stressed, mommy looks so angry, mommy doesn't have time for me, because that was exactly my mom as well.
Anyway, but not everybody decided not to quit because of financial issue. There a viewer named Jacob, he said that I will not quit my job because for me it is very hard to answer during interview. Employer will think that I am a quitter. What do you think?
Che Jacob, I'll be honest, I did, and until this day I still feel the same, because sometimes you go to interview, you have to jawab, right? You have to jawab, and you'll be like, how to jawab? But for me, right, what I do all these 5 months as well, well, not the entirely 5 months, I did travel around Semenanjung, Sabah, Sarawak, explore our own country. God put us in this country for a reason, for you to explore, for you to invest into. But of course, if you have the money to travel overseas, go for it. It's nice, it's beautiful. But for me, I feel
But for
country.
you, it's not like you instantly quit. You did say that you tried for months.
Yes, it's been in my head for months, but there's no concrete solid plan like some people like to write out on a paper and print it out.
But you went to seek professional help, which I think is better than writing it on a paper.
Yeah, seek professional help just to see like what is causing my performance drop and everything. Why do I feel so low and down every time? Like I felt depressed and everything.
Yeah,
And
don't spiral down.
Like, if I admit I have horrible time management.
So if I can really conclude this whole situation about quitting your job without looking for a job, I would think it's always possible to do so. If I may share, I went through that the same back in year 2023 when I decided to quit my full-time corporate job to do this full-time, right? But I was a little bit meticulous in planning my exit.
Okay. Meticulous in what way?
I plan my exit for minimum 6 months ahead because unlike you, my expenses is very high.
Of course, that's understandable.
And then it's high also by choice. I feel a lot of people who said, no, I definitely will not quit. What they are not willing to do is adjust their lifestyle.
Of course. Actually, adjustment is not easy as well.
Yes.
If I may admit in front of the camera, not only I was diagnosed with ADHD, I was also diagnosed with adjustment disorder a year before that.
There is a disorder called adjustment disorder.
Yeah, you can Google and baca sendiri. Adjustment disorder is caused by series of stressful events that happen in your life and
Like
all.
you're not very adaptable. Is that what it says?
I think one of the biggest reasons is because when I was young, like I said, my mom and I, we just suddenly migrate to New Zealand, macam no warning. Yeah, got warning lah, but suddenly like after a few months, just suddenly just out to New Zealand like that. There's no gradual transition, nothing. And even before that, when I was younger, right, I used to live nearby here. And always like I said, when I came to PJ when I was 6, always move houses. Because my mom loves property investment, which it's not wrong to do property investment, but you got to think about your kids, move house here, move house there, move house here, move house there. Not everyone can easily adjust, it's like never settled. Like my mom lives her life never settled, so I had to go with it. So and then suddenly went to New Zealand when I was young.
This is interesting. This episode more like
came back and then came back 10 years later, and then they have to readjust back to the environment because I spent 10 years trying to adjust their environment, make new friends, and tried very hard for people to accept me. I struggle with acceptance as well, and then come back all of a sudden, have to adjust to a new environment, new social social
So is it very
status.
traumatizing for you?
Actually, it is, to be honest. Especially losing a father at a young age and then having a single mom who has her own mental illness and as well. And
So
have
I
to
feel
work.
it's the same for a lot of people who fear to quit their job. They really fear adjustment. Like for me, I was one of them. It was very hard. Was it very hard for you when you suddenly have to control your expenses?
Actually, yes, have to watch expenses very, very closely.
Yes.
Because money can go out very fast like that. 希浪
Yes,
没有
yes.
钱了.
So like for me, I did plan ahead. But it took me a while to plan it to be able to do this exit.
Yes, planning is also important as well.
It's very important.
I think it was Benjamin Franklin who put this: by failing to plan/prepare, you are preparing.
When you plan
planning
to fail, you fail to plan. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that phrase.
Actually, he's not wrong also. It's even for me, I didn't have a concrete plan on paper or iPad or anything. It's just in my head. But a plan is better than no plan. But of course, try to discuss with friends and family if you can trust them, or talk to maybe a counselor. Don't be afraid to seek a counselor,
Yes.
because it's nothing ashamed. Actually, there's more people going through the same thing that you are going through. You just tak tahu je. Yeah.
Yes. And then besides planning my financial, there were a lot of things I was planning. I was also planning a plan B. What if I come out and do this full time? It doesn't work. What will be my plan B to my plan B?
Yeah.
So I started like networking like crazy. I start talking to my ex-bosses, reaching out to friends, just in case I feel I need to fall back into employment.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of things that one person need to think about, but it's always possible if you put like real thoughts in it. And like you said, I always think that when you are planning your escape plan, it's a very good distraction from what's happening in the office.
Yeah. Of course, I would say number one, have a plan. Like even if it's just in your head or paper, it doesn't matter how you do it, but as long as you have a plan. So go home, balik rumah, you fikir, you just do your homework. And number two, I would say, of course, finances. Yeah.
But what really amazed me when people are at the brink of quitting, most of the time they are very burnt out.
Yeah.
Right? They are very burnt out.
That was
put
me.
in so much hour in their office. I was just thinking if they could just cut down that hours by 1-2 hours and bring that 2 hours into your personal life, like spending time updating your resume, research the market about the job, spend that 2 hours on self-care and planning for yourself.
Actually, I like that.
So focus on that. So I always advise my followers who come to ask me, Auntie, what you think I should do? I think if you have already decided to quit your job, focus on that.
Yes.
But every day
I
as
agree.
you go up, when you show up to work, you show up and do whatever you can. Because in order to create that continuation of your career, you also need to maintain your reputation. Don't be those ones, once you tender your resignation, then suddenly MC a lot.
Ayo. Seriously, I'm gonna say this. Do not, just because you tendered your resignation doesn't mean you can slack.
Exactly.
And in case if my ex-boss, you're thinking, why am I slacking? I'm not performing. Hear me say this again. Just because you tender, don't slack. You need to put in more effort. You just not put in more effort. Just continue the way you're doing.
Or if not better, what you're supposed to do.
If not better, yeah.
Yeah. This is where I think people like to use the word quiet quitting lah.
Ayo. Just quit as peacefully as you can.
Yes. But for me, it's very important.
Do the handover properly.
Because for me, do you realize this? Every industry is very small. Words get around,
Yeah.
Your reputation will stick in the market. So you want to keep your reputation wherever you want to go.
True. One wrong move, it's like the whole world knows about you already.
But just like what I said, while you guys are dying for the company, just cut 2 hours from it and focus on it. And it's a very good distraction for whatever shit you're going through at your workplace. Just focus on this side and move forward. Yeah. Always move forth.
And plus, you have 24 hours in your day, right? You don't need anyone's approval on how you want to live your life, except for the minimum work hours, you have to be at the office. But outside that, you've got, say if you work 8 to 5, that's 9 hours, right?
Yes.
You have 24 hours in a day. Besides 9 hours, then you got 15 hours left in your day. That's not even half of it. I mean, plus, of course, maybe you sleep 8 hours if you want a good sleep. Then you left 7 hours. You left 7 hours. I mean, even some people can accomplish a lot in just half an hour or 1 hour.
Exactly. So Edmund, before we're going to end the session today, what kind of message would you like to tell people? Especially about mental health, since you've been through so much about it.
I want to say it's okay to not be okay, but you need to seek help. You need to find out the root cause. You need to admit that, I don't want to say admit that there's something wrong with you, not in a negative way, but if you feel that something is not right, seek help. Actually, how I ended up in HKL is I just went to a local clinic and told them how I feel. And they just referred me to HKL psychiatrist. That's all. Yeah, and
it's not so complicated, right?
No, you just go to your local clinic only.
Yeah, just have to be brave.
That's how I did it. But you have to check with your own doctors as well, and they'll give you a referral letter, because HKL you need a referral letter from your GP or something. Then seek help. It's talk to your friends or family if they can understand. I understand in Malaysia, some families cannot understand, especially older generations or those who haven't been through what I went through or what some others went through.
Those are very old generation. I think even older generation now is getting the hang of it already.
Yeah.
I think it's always okay to talk about it in public. And thank you so much for being so brave and share about your struggles with us.
Yeah,
truly appreciate it.
I'm not ashamed to share it, because if anyone out there is going through something that they feel they're alone, you're not alone. Yeah, it's okay to seek help, talk to someone who can understand you. It's better than to let it bubble up. I'll admit, please talk to someone, or even if you're not comfortable to talk to anyone, you can reach out that Talian Kasih. I think it's 15999, or you have to double check it online. Talian Kasih. You can talk to this line. I mean, most of them are Malay speakers, but if you're in English,
but they care the same.
Yeah, yes, they do care the same. But if you don't speak Malay, you can ask if they can speak English. They should be able to help you. This is Malaysia, and plus we are number 3 most fluent English in Southeast Asia, right?
Yes.
No harm trying, it's better than let it bubble up, because I did it before and the end result was horrendous. Don't let it bubble up.
So be brave to seek help. That's the message.
Yes, and be brave to make a decision as well. If you don't make a decision, it's like you'll stay the same for the rest of your life.
But with planning.
Yeah.
Okay, be brave, but we also want to be brave smartly.
Correct. Yes, correct. You're right. I like that.
Okay, with that, we thank you today, Edmund, for coming in today. Thank you so much for sharing with us your story.
Thank you for having me too, Auntie. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you so much. With that, we're going to bid you farewell. And remember to stay mentally sane. Okay?
Correct.